The Little Red Chook by Dr. Catherine Sinclair. This is an alternative version of the children's fable, The Little Red Hen. The original fable tells the story of a hard-working hen who repeatedly asks other animals for help, but none is ever given. She exhausts herself doing all the work alone, but in the end she achieves her goal and is able to enjoy the spoils of her own labour, all by herself. It is a story used to teach young girls that so long as they grow up working hard and never expect anyone to help them, they will reap their due rewards. Presumably, if a woman finds herself in a bad place, she only has herself to blame, because she is a lazy cow, rather than a busy hen forced into the domestic servitude of men. Well, I thought I'd tell an alternative story, a story that doesn't promote the myth of the meritocracy and correctly places the blame on people who use psychological violence, sexual harassment, and sexist and ageist jokes to undermine women's career progress. The Little Red Chook lived on a farm with a pack of animals. One day she found some wheat grains and decided to plant them. She approached the animals and asked, "Who will help me?" "Not I," said the animals, each in turn. So the Little Red Chook planted them herself. Little Red Chook tended to the wheat crop as it grew, and soon it was time for the harvest. She approached the animals and asked, "Who will help me?" "Not I," replied each of the animals in turn. "Did you see the wattles on that old chook, you guys?" said one of them, as the Little Red Chook walked away. So Little Red Chook harvested the wheat herself. After harvesting the wheat, it needed to be milled and ground into flour. Little Red Chook approached the animals and asked, "Who will help me?" "Nah, F off, you ugly old chook," replied one animal. "Grind the flour? Rather grind you," replied another. "Nah, she's not even worth roasting, dude," replied the third. So the Little Red Chook took the wheat to the mill and ground it into flour all by herself. Then it was time to bake the bread, but she didn't even bother asking for help this time. She kneaded the dough and heated up the oven. But just as she was about to place it into the oven, one of the animals appeared out of nowhere and beat her up with a baseball bat while nobody was watching. Little Red Chook was battered and bruised, but nevertheless she persisted. She baked the bread, and it was beautiful, with a lovely crust and all light and fluffy inside. She held it up to the animals to show them. "Now who will help me eat the bread?" she asked. "We will," they all replied in unison. The pack of animals made a rush at her, grabbing the bread, trampling her into the ground, laughing gleefully and gobbling the bread. They left a huge mess behind, for her to clean up, of course. Little Red Chook was lying on the ground, shattered and exhausted. Then she heard a strange noise. The animals were howling with fear and pain. She looked up to see an army of red chooks pecking at the animals in a frenzy. Eventually, the pathetic hen-pecked animals retreated to their stinky dens, and the Little Red Chook is happy now because she has finally found her brood. The end.